Having discussed about the module 1 and module 2, now we are moving on to the module 3, I mean the third unit. In this unit, we have the deliberations on functions. So functions are introduced, and we have the concept of arguments, how to define the arguments using in the programming statements, returning a result from the function, a function with arguments, without arguments, its scope, simple exercises, and the extension of tuples and dictionaries. So we have 6 chapters in this unit 3, module 3, which we have a detailed discussions on functions, arguments, its scope, writing functions, tuples and dictionaries. Fine. We start with the functions, an introduction about the functions. Why do we need? So hope you remember we had started the Python session from the basics, fundamentals, different data types, how to define, write a program, and various control statements, looping structures, and several functions. Okay. Why do we need them? What is its necessity? As I said, we have come across functions in the previous topics, but the view on their merits that we have given, okay, we have given, which have been rather one-sided. What does it mean by that? We have only invoked the functions by using them as tools to make the program easier and to simplify the time-consuming and the tedious jobs, tasks as well. Fine. When we want some data to be printed on the console, okay, we had come across few standard inbuilt functions. I hope you remember print, right? So this print function is used. It's a standard default, and it's an inbuilt functions used to print some information on the console, right? When we want to read the value on your variable, we use the input functions. So this input is coupled with either integer or float. We have also made use of some methods which are in fact functions, but they have been declared and used in very specific way. So print, input were the standard functions, inbuilt functions used in Python programming, and they are used exclusively for specified purposes. Now, in this topic, we will learn how to write our own functions, and how to use them. So Python offers a provisions, a help assistance to the programmers, designers to plan and define their own functions, okay, and to use them, right? We will use in the program, okay, several functions together from very simple to medium level, and we also discuss some difficult, complex functions, which also require some focus and attention for the purpose of learning, right? It often happens that a particular piece of code is repeated many times in our program. It is repeated either literally or with only a few minor modifications, which consists of the use of other variables in the same algorithm. It also happens that a programmer cannot resist simplifying the work and begins to copy or to repeat, to have a clone, we can say, such pieces of code using the clipboard and copy paste operations. So such things will end up as a greatly difficult, boring, or we can also say frustrating, when suddenly it turns out that there was an error in the copied code, duplicated code, and the programmer will have a lot of drudgery, tough work to find all the places where the corrections, okay, debugging ought to be done. And moreover, there is also a high risk of corrections by correcting one part, which may reflect in the other part of the program. So that will lead to an errors. Fine. Now we can define the first condition. Kindly note, we can now define the first condition, which can help us to decide when to start write our own functions. If a particular fragment of the code, particular part of the code, right, begins to appear in more than one place, then consider the possibility of isolating it in a form of a function invoked from the points where the original code was placed before. And again, it may happen that the algorithm we are going to implement, we had already discussed, and we are using it, may be complex, that our code begins to grow in an uncontrolled manner. And suddenly we notice that we are not able to track, we are not able to navigate through it so easily anymore. Right? So we can try to cope with the issue by commenting the code extensively. So, some say that a well-written function should be viewed entirely in a one glance, in a one block. Fine. A good and attentive developer, divides the code into well-isolated pieces, independent part, independent block, separate programs, and encodes each of them in the form of a function. This considerably simplifies the work of the program because each piece of code can be encoded separately and tested separately. This process is called decomposition. So the basic fundamental concept behind the function is decomposition. A big program, considerably intermediate or very large, or could be a complex, which will be difficult to solve as a whole unit, one unit, then it may be divided, it may be partitioned into well isolated pieces, okay, into sub-programs, and each well isolated pieces, each part divisions could be executed separately, and finally they are integrated. So encoded separately, tested separately, verified separately, and only the results are brought together, merged together, integrated together. This process is called decomposition. Fine. Definitely, as long as the software is simple, easy, it can be prepared, executed, and checked in a single unit. When the work becomes large, complex, very big, then solving entire unit will become a difficult task, tough work. So they are divided, partitioned into independent units, checked separately, tested separately, and later they are merged together to integrate the final output. It's as simple as a work, a function. We organize so many events in our institutions, right? So for a coordinator or a chairman of a particular event will be very difficult. So they are divided into different events, right? And every event will have a coordinator in charge. So if a team may be formed to take care of the event, for example, reception team, a separate. So they will take care of all the things, logistics, registration, separate team, technical team, coding team. And so all this team, they coordinate with each other and finally report to the head, to the chief. So for one person will be very difficult to manage. So the work, the task are divided into many pieces, well isolated pieces or sub functions. It could be a team, okay, and every team is monitored by a responsible person, okay, a group of 6 7 people, and they take care of everything. So finally they report to the chief, right? As I said, as long as the work is very simple, that could be managed by a person. When it is very difficult to manage, when it has become complex, very big in nature, then it is the right practice is decompose, divide the work, partition into work, assign the responsibilities, and ensure, supervise it is done properly. Right? That is the first condition. Now we can state the second condition. If a piece of code becomes so large that reading and understanding it may cause a problem, and we had considered dividing it into separate, well isolated pieces. I mean smaller problems, and implement each of them in the form of a separate function. So this decomposition continues until we get a set of short functions, small functions, easy to understand and test. The idea is we need to manage effectively and efficiently. For this purpose, the decomposition is carried out. So decomposition is done to make the large and complex problems into short, easy to understand and test data. Right? And another point is it often happens that the problem is so large and complex that it cannot be assigned to a single developer, and a team of developers have to work on it. The problem must be split between several developers in a way that ensures their efficient and seamless cooperation. So that's how we have a team lead, okay, developer, designer, analyst, testing team, finally debugging team, and the implementation team. So it seems that more than one programmer should write the same piece of code at the time, so that the job has to be dispersed among all the team members. So every team will have 4-5 group members according to the work. They cooperate with each other. With an understanding, the work will be very easier. So the advantage is the work get reduced, simplified, number one. Number two, it's a teamwork. So good ideas, innovative ideas will emerge. As a result, the solution may be very effective rather than going with a narrow-minded idea. Okay, if one person's thought may be successful, or sometimes there are also chances the work may end up with a failure. So instead, when a group is involved, definitely there will be a different opinions out of which the best could be selected. So this kind of decomposition has a different purpose to that one described one. As I said, it is a sharing the work, but also about sharing the responsibility among many developers. So now the task is very simple and easy. Each of them writes a clearly defined and described set of functions. So for example, one team, transport, they will take care of only their logistics, their things. So people arranging the vehicle, bringing to them, and after the work is completed, ensuring that they are reaching the proper destination. They may not be involved in registration committee or technical committee or any other information or any other work. So as a result, it is a collective responsibility for all, which will move to fulfill the final product. So having this two conditions now will lead us directly to the third. If we are going to divide the work among multiple programmers, this concept of decomposition, decompose the problem to allow the product to be implemented as a separately written functions packed together in different modules. Fine. So a function has become an essential part of maybe live applications, scientific applications, very advanced applications. Right? In the beginning, all the work may looks very simple. So if you check with the most the top companies, they're very big organizations, either private sector or public sector. So all those they have started. When we go back and look at their initial time, the beginning, the day it was started, it will be having a very small unit with a limited people. As time passes, it started growing, and finally it has achieved a very big unit. Okay, so there are so many several public sectors like BHL, BEML, NAL, where we have so many centers, locations all over the country. and several thousands and tens and thousands people are involved. So it is the result of several decades. But at the beginning, it all started in a simple way, okay, in a small limited location with selective people. But over the years, they grew because of the contribution from all the employees, management, government, and with all the support from the public. Now it has grown to the level of thing. So that's why several public sectors are named as, branded as Navaratnas. Okay, because of the number of people involved. Fine. So this functions has become a part of a big applications. Okay, when an application is found to be big, complex, definitely as a whole unit. Okay, yeah, the whole unit cannot be solved. So there must be some appropriate logic to solve the problem, to run the institute. So that is the reason we introduce the concept of functions are introduced. So this functions, the concept is applied when the complete application is divided, partitioned into well isolated pieces, and each of them are carried, solved independently. Fine. So developing, debugging, and checking the results. Finally, they are merged together to integrated to get a collective output. Fine. So this is the concept of functions. Fine. Now, where do this function come from? In general, functions come from at least three places. One, from Python itself, as we mentioned, no, with the help of print function, input function, we have a number of inbuilt functions used in Python itself, right? So functions which support are part of Python itself. Number two, pre-installed modules. A lot of functions, very useful ones, but used significantly less often than the built-in ones are available in a number of modules installed together with Python. And the use of these functions requires some additional steps from the programmer in order to make them fully accessible. So with the help of, we say adds-on functions. Okay, so whenever a new release updates are done, we will have added more features inside Python. So the adds-on facility will help to install more extra functions into the Python. That's the second thing. And directly from our code. The third option is we can write our own function, user-defined function, and place them inside the code, use them freely. Right? So the users, the programmers are also permitted to define their own function. That's called user-defined function. So functions has three categories. One, inbuilt functions come from Python itself. Second, with the features of adds-on facility, a new modules, pre-installed modules, functions, built-in functions are developed and associated whenever there are updates are released. The third option is the user or permitted programmer can write their own functions, place them inside the code and use as per the application's requirement. So the functions come from at least three places. Number one, Python itself, built-in functions. Two, adds-on functions from the Python's pre-installed modules. And the third, user-defined functions. So through writing the code snippets, we can write our own function, user-defined function or customized functions. Fine. So this is a example, right? Take a look at this part. So here we have three input statements, input function statements. So this program accepts three input variables and print a comma b comma c, right? So you may notice every time we repeat a set of blocks. a set of statements, right? So print enter a value, a variable is equal to int input function. Print enter the next value. Print enter the next value. So the repeated block, the sequence or instructions could be avoided with the help of user-defined functions. So the concept is same. We are accepting a value repeatedly. So in this case, the statement, print statement and the function are almost similar. Print value, another variable. Print value, a variable. So this repetition of same kind of actions could be avoided with the help of functions. Got it? So which will result the number of less statements at the same time. When the instructions are less, and obviously the time, execution time will be also less. Fine. So this complete repeated set of instructions could be replaced by having a function. Okay. So a function is defined with the keyword def. Keyword def. So def followed by the function name. So every function definition starts with the keyword def. So def represents define. Okay. Right. So all the function definition starts with the keyword def that represents define. Next, after def goes the name of the function. Right. The name of the functions is similar to defining a variable. Okay. It's any variable name. It should not be a keyword or reserved word. Right. After the function name, can you notice a pair of parentheses? So now in this beginning we have not introduced any values. It is nothing is there, but we can supply values in the form of parameters and arguments inside it. Fine. So keyword def followed by the variable, I mean the function name. We have a pair of parentheses which may initially empty and later supported with the values. And the line has to be ended with a colon. Okay, with a colon. The line directly after the def begins the function body. The function body. Okay, so this line entered after a indentation block. A couple of nested instructions which will be executed every time the function is invoked inside the body. Please note the function ends where the nesting ends. So we have to be very careful where to stop the functions. Otherwise, it will go into an infinite loop. Is it clear? Any doubts? Any doubts? Why do we need function? The function is important. Okay, when the problem is supposed to be in very big or complex. So the function helps to understand the problem. Okay, by having several modules or units or subprograms, and also avoids the repetition of a similar kind of statements. Okay, fine. So let us check with a simple example. I'll move on to open the editor. Fine. So def function definition starts with the keyword def. The function name message. Yeah. So since it is a function represented with a pair of parentheses ended with a colon, the function body should have the entries after a indented block, right? Print enter value. Call the function, right? A is equal to int input message. B is equal to int input message. C is equal to input int of input okay. Print input values are A comma B comma C, right? So a function is defined with the keyword def. Name of the function similar to a variable. For a function, since it is the function, we have represented with a pair of parentheses and a colon. The function body have a statement. Print enter a value. Okay. Then we have invoked the function. We have defined the function. Whenever a function is defined, that should be invoked in the later part. So this is called function call. Okay. So as said, every function starts with the keyword def, and next after def goes the name of the function, which is similar to variable, and after the function name, there's a place for a parenthesis with a colon. So the line, the function definition has to be ended with a colon, right? The line directly after the def represents the function body. Okay. So the print enter value represents the function body. And there could be one or more statements which will be executed every time when the function is invoked. So this statement will be executed whenever it is called. Okay, so we need a call function. So this message, this statement will invoke the function body. Whenever this is invoked, we get the message, enter the value, and it is stored in the variable a comma b comma c, right? And the values are displayed. Okay, so define the function and invoke it. So this is similar to calling function, right? When the interpreter executes the statement, it invokes the definition, and the body of the function will be executed. So one or more messages under the function body, inside the function body, will be executed. So let us run the program. Right. So enter a value. Okay, let us take 1, 2. Okay. So we have 3 statements: enter value, enter value, enter value, because 3 times the function is invoked. The 3 times the function is invoked. Whenever a function is invoked, the message under the body, inside the body, is executed. Enter the value. Okay. So the first time when it's invoked, the value is assigned to the variable a. Second time when it's invoked, the value input is assigned to the variable b. The third invocation will assign the value 2 to the variable 3. So after this, there are no more invocations. It is only the output statement. The input values entered are 1, 1, 2. Right? So this is the concept of a function. So a function helps. Instead of writing print enter value of A, enter value of B, enter value of C. So the three statements, the three repeated similar statements are avoided with the help of one definition function. Okay. So there may be situations where the same part will need to be repeated. For example, the salary of an employee. Salary is a standard formula, right? Once we enter the basic, okay, for example, basic, all the employees may get 10% of DA, 50% of DA and HRA as per the norms. So the format is same. All we need to enter the basic. It is only the basic differs from grade to grade. The TA, DA and other allowances will be the standard, same for all the group. Fine. So when we enter the basic, it will calculate the other allowances and the gross salary. Fine. The calculations are uniform. It is only the data will be different. So instead of calculating the salary for 100 employees, we can define print enter the salary. Okay, 10% HSA, 50% DA, and another 5% for other allowances. Total basic plus HRA plus DA plus other. So all we need is to enter the value and basic salary. It will calculate for all the 100 employees. In the usual programming, we need to do for each and every employee. Right? For 100 employee, we have to calculate 100 times. Rather than one definition, one common calculations with support several employees. So this will help in easily understanding the problem as well as help the application as a simple one. Fine. Any doubts? Have you understood why do we need a function? As you have noticed, enter value, enter value, enter value. The three statements are 30 or 300 statements can have defined inside the function body with one declaration, and it will be invoked whenever it is called in the later part. Fine. Okay. Any doubts? So what we have introduced today is function and invoke. Please note, when we invoke a function, Python remembers the place where it happened. When we invoke, this is the part where we are invoking the function, because first it is defined, and the next time is called invoking function. When we invoke the function, Python remembers the place where it happened and jumps to the invoked function. It is invoking function, invoke. The message is invoking, and as soon as the statement is encountered, Python remembers the place where it happened and jumps to the invoked function, which means the body of the function is executed. Okay, enter a value. This value is assigned to the variable. Next, again the function is invoked. The Python jumps to the block, checks the statement, enter a value, accept and assign to the variable B. Third time is again invoke, Python jumps to the block, definition block, executes the statement, which means enter a value, and the third value is assigned to the variable C. And later print A, B, C are displayed. Fine. So invoking function, invoked function, and the function body. It's all will coordinated appropriately. Okay. And kindly note, we must not have a function and a variable of the same name. The function name and the variable should be different. The function name is nothing but a variable. It should be independent. Okay, it should not match with any reserved words or keywords. It's as simple as a variable. Right? Any doubts? Okay. So we shall stop here and continue in the next session.